Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to our latest webcast that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly. And I'm joined today by what is probably a new face to you all. This is Catherine Powell. She's the new CEO at AmaWaterways. And delighted to meet you today, Catherine. How are you?
Lucy, thank you so much for having me. I am very well, thank you.
Good. Well, we've known that you were coming for a while because it was announced that you were taking over as CEO. Obviously, working still though alongside the founders Rudy and Kristen. So, we'd love to know a little bit more about you. Perhaps you can just give us a bit of your background. It's been sort of been in travel or sort of on the edges of what we perhaps might know as the core travel, but other roles as well. So, tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll come on to what you're doing at Amma.
Yes, of course. So I worked for Disney for 15 years. First part of that was in media and entertainment, and then latterly it was in the parks. So I was president of Disneyland Paris, and then I came over here to the US, where I am now, to oversee Disneyland, Disney World, and Disneyland Paris. And the parks there are a lot of similarities. I mean, this is Disney. This is being super focused on the guest experience. If you think about managing a park, it's about hospitality, it's about the hotels, it's about the food and beverage, the supply chain, the guest experience in restaurants. It's about boutiques. It's about entertainment. Then there is your relationship with the local mayors and all the officials that
Oh, yeah.
you know where you're based. So I mean, there are a lot of similarities as I look now at my job at the moment. So that understanding of the guest experience, that seeking of creating magical memories that Disney is so well known for, is definitely something that I've been able to pull through to AmaWaterways in my recent tenure.
Yeah.
And then after Disney, I was at Airbnb for 4.5 years.
Wow.
And you're looking at travel, different type of travel. You're
Right.
looking again at the guest experience. And my focus there was really hosts and how do I recruit hosts. When I joined, it was about 4 million hosts. When I left, it was 5.5 million.
Oh,
So you're talking about scale, slightly bigger than the scale I have at the moment. But what was interesting there, again, if I think about what I can pull through, was we deconstructed the art of hosting for our hosts. How can you create the best possible stay for a host? How do you deconstruct it to everything from the welcome all the way through to the farewell? And that is and the communication and the care and the surprise and delight in between. And that is also something that is highly relevant to where I'm focused now. So, work for great brands. AmaWaterways is a beloved brand, one of the big reasons that I joined.
well, I was gonna say, what was the appeal then? Because I mean, and maybe ask about. So, no, even at Disney, you weren't working on Disney Cruise Line then; it was more
No,
just the parks.
no.
Okay, so this is your first role in cruise, and certainly in river, then I guess. So, what was the appeal?
Yes, I've been on a Disney cruise, but haven't worked in that particular for that team. So it was honestly, it's if you think about river cruising as an industry is really exciting. So even if I haven't worked in river cruising or cruising, you are aware of this just growing noise around you
Yeah,
about the excitement of river cruising and people talking about river cruising and river cruises that they'd gone on. And then understanding a bit more about AmaWaterways and where it is as a brand, the premium luxury nature of AmaWaterways, the high touch service,
yeah.
really, really important to me if you think about the quality and excellence of a Disney experience or an Airbnb experience. So that was appealing. And then of course you meet Rudy and Christine and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
sold.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just talk about that then, because they're not leaving. We must be very clear of that. I think Rudy's taking the chairman role, and then Christine's still going to be very involved as this chief brand ambassador. So, how are the three of you working together? How's it working so
So
far?
yes, so Rudy stepped into the chairman of the board, and I think is really enjoying his time now. He's doing travel and focusing on other things, but he's very much there. I mean, Rudy has decades of
Oh,
experience in river cruising. He's known as the sort of either the icon of river cruising, the godfather of river cruising, but he has so much knowledge and expertise that is available both for me and for the board. And so he continues to advise on strategic issues, especially as we think about the growth that we're
yeah,
embarking on.
and obviously all about design as well. He's
Yeah.
always been involved, hasn't he, in the ship design? So it's not just the sort of strategy, but all, right down to that detail.
Yeah, the construction and the design. So he's still there. And as you say, Christine has transitioned to chief brand ambassador. And this was actually something that happened when I joined as president. Christine evolved to that role, and is just continuing to be, in touch with travel advisors, going to events, talking to media, very much an advocate and champion, passionate champion for the
Yeah.
brand. And she'll continue to do that as well.
Yeah,
So
which is
wonderful.
fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because
she's
as you,
fantastic
I mean,
for that.
she's just so passionate and so enthusiastic about it, and that does rub off, doesn't it? So that's great. And of
And the
course,
one thing,
oh, go
Lucy,
on.
the one thing, just to add, the one thing I would say, I mean, for me, one of my priorities is the brand. There is such a strong legacy from what Christine and Rudy have built. And I am absolutely focused on nurturing and protecting and continuing that legacy. So having Christine there as a brand champion is really important. And as I look to the future and I look about, growth and how we're going to evolve, I need to really make sure that I balance everything that is so core to Ama and that brand and why it is beloved with, how we want to grow in the future. So it's really important to me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I imagine when they appointed you or they tried to lure you in, they must have told you a little bit about their plans, some of which we've heard a little bit about recently because you've announced this big expansion, another 8 ships in Europe. I think it's doubling your fleet, I think, since 2020. So I mean, it's significant expansion for you. So we want to talk about that because I'm sure that was one of the appeals. But should we just focus first of all on this year because you've also added ships this year. So it's
Yeah.
not like you've been waiting for a while to make this new expansion. You've had a new ship on the Douro, and of
Yeah.
course your 2 ships in Colombia, which everyone's very excited about. So perhaps just tell us how this year has gone so far. And I know you're new in, but just tell us how this year's gone, and then we'll talk about the future.
Yes, of course. And in fact, while we announced the 8 ships, we've got 5 that we are building and completing
Currently,
at the moment before you get to the 8. So as you
yeah,
said, we launched the AmaCentra on the Douro earlier this year. Beautiful ship. And we launched the very, very exciting, the Ama Magdalena on the Rio Magdalena in Colombia, breaking, pioneering in the true
yeah,
spirit of Ama, breaking ground, well, not ground, breaking kind of river, with creating, I mean, we built the whole infrastructure. We have the
I
first
know.
cruise on the Rio Magdalena. So, I mean, building the infrastructure, the docking, being able to build the ship, working with the local communities there, to provide the hospitality on the ship, the communities that we visit. I mean, it's truly, truly incredible to
Mm,
see, something that Christine is very passionate about. And this working closely with communities is another hallmark of the Ama brand. So we launched the Ama Magdalena. We will be launching the Ama Melodia shortly,
yeah.
which is wonderful. And the feedback, what is so impactful in Colombia is not just the feedback from our guests. And we have so many of our return guests who are like first up to go, I want
I
to
was
go
going to
to
say, I imagine it's
Colombia.
people who are already loyal AMA fans who've sailed with you elsewhere. Is that really what's making up the
It's
majority of the passengers?
honestly, it's both. They are our return guests, loyal Ama fans, absolutely want to be there. But we have a lot of first time river cruising going to Colombia.
Because
And I
that's a
think part of
great
it
way to
might
see
be
Colombia. I think you
it's
were
a
talking about bird watching and things like that, the wildlife. So it's a great way to see all of that.
And for our North American guests, it's not far. It's pretty easy to get to. So we've seen both, but there's been an absolutely incredible guest response. But the other thing that is so, as I said, so kind of significant for us is the reception from the local communities there. And this is everyone from the officials who we've worked with to get the permits, from, as I said, the communities who are helping us actually create the boats and the experience, the ships
Yeah,
and the experience. And then the communities that we are taking our guests to, many of whom haven't received tourists
yeah.
before,
Presumably
who
you're providing employment as well, are you, in these
it's
regions?
employment, it's spend, it's
Yeah,
spend from our guests in these communities. It's a community's chance to share their culture. So there's an education and a transformative bit. There are opportunities for philanthropy. It's
yeah.
very meaningful.
And could this be a blueprint, Catherine, for other areas? Because I know when I've talked to Christine recently, I was asking her about other rivers that could be explored and opened up in this way. So is that sort of what you'd like to do, to look at other rivers and take this blueprint that you've done in Colombia and move it elsewhere?
Yes, I think we are very focused. I am very focused on, when I think about growth, growth is the fleet, which we can talk about. Growth is also where you go to. the destinations that you visit. And yes, we are absolutely exploring, what more we can do in the incredible destinations where we are already, like the Mekong. I mean, we have the Amamaya coming out in the Mekong in 2027, so that'll be our second ship there. We obviously have incredible experiences on the Nile and in Africa. So I'm looking both at, what more can we do where we already are and
Yeah.
where we go where we're not.
Yeah. Okay. And are you going to whereabouts are you looking? Where are the rivers that are not? Can you give
There
us
are
any
many,
indication, like, of what rivers,
there
what
are
parts of the
many
world,
rivers.
any rivers, of course, but presumably you're led, I guess, by customer demand. They might be, do they say we want to do more in North America or Africa or whatever? Is it
I
sort of
don't, I
feedback from
don't think
customers
it's
or
if we take into account feedback from our guests and we listen to them all the time, including, where would you like to go next? That is when on the whole, you will get very positive feedback and strong demand for where you are because that's what they know. But guests were not saying the Rio Magdalena because
right?
they don't think about
They don't
that.
know
And
it. Yeah.
so where we go next, there are many factors that we take into account as I'm exploring, where to go. One is, the feasibility and navigability of the rivers, which is something I'm learning about, which is fascinating. And the ships that you need to design. So we are honestly we're looking everywhere. And as soon as we
I
land
know, I know.
our next
Well, I asked
destination,
Christine
I will
this
let you
at
know.
the last River Cruise conference, the Clear conference, and she did say there were more rivers in South America that she was very interested in. So it's a very big place, of course, big continent. So I'm sure the Magdalena River is not the only one, but we will wait and see where else you bring out into your program. But let's then talk about just general sales, whether it's on the new rivers or elsewhere, because obviously we mustn't forget, I think Europe still represents 90% of your program. So how have sales been this year? Particularly, we've had some uncertainty, certainly in the world. So has it been a good year for you generally so far?
It's been an exceptional year. It's been, and given the geopolitics around it, and there are certain itineraries. We had a blip um, with the Nile, with what was going on
Yeah,
in Gaza, but that came roaring back very quickly in the Nile. In fact, with our UK guests, where also we're seeing great strength. We're up over 25% year on year with our UK guests, and next year is already really strong. It's like 46% up on this
on
year
this
so
time
far.
last year.
Yeah, on
Wow.
this time last year with our UK guests.
What do you put that down to, Catherine? Why are the Brits suddenly wanting to, why is that so good? Why so
Well, I
strong?
think, I mean, the Brits love river cruising. The question which I'm answering is, why AMA, which is wonderful. So I think there's a growing demand in river cruising, which is
Yeah,
what I mentioned at the beginning. There is so much noise around river cruising, and as competitors like Celebrity come in, it's
yeah,
wonderful for us because there's more awareness, more discussion, more interest, which grows demand. So I think it's the interest in river cruising, it's driving the demand. And
yeah,
we're doing a lot with AMA to ensure that our brand cuts through. And it's really important for me that on if I think about the international market, and the UK is an incredibly important market for us outside of North America, I really want them to understand, what is AMA about? What's AMA's brand offering? Why, how incredible are our ships? How incredible are our
yeah.
the crew? And I think that's another piece that's really, really driving it.
So where does the UK, is it your second largest market outside of North America, or where does it sit, the UK?
It's the UK is one of the, yeah, it's up there in the top outside of the US.
Okay,
Yeah.
alongside Australia.
Australia
Yeah,
and the UK are our biggest,
yeah.
probably the biggest
Okay.
markets outside
And
of the US.
is it particular? Are you seeing this? I know you're saying there's a general interest in river cruise, but I wonder. I'm hearing from other people that because Americans are not necessarily traveling over to Europe in quite so in quite the numbers they have been previously, that then there's more availability for Brits. Is that partly driving
I
some of your great strength from the British market?
It's not what we're seeing in terms of North American. By North American, there's US and there's obviously our Canadian guests who are also an incredibly strong market for us. We have not seen a dip in our US guests. I know there's a lot of noise around that. I think one of the reasons is we are such a convenient and safe
Yeah,
and discreet way to travel and to see Europe, which is the appeal of river cruising. It's not just the unpack once, but it's the fat, and it's so convenient and hassle free. But you're safe, and you're with a family who's looking after you. So we haven't seen that. On the other side, what we've seen with our UK guests is the growing number of close-in bookings, and as we have extended our season, so we almost sail 12 months a year now, which is really incredible. And we certainly
Yeah.
extended the off season into February and at the end of the year. And we see our British guests booking that. I think they book. British guests tend to book close in anyway.
Yeah.
And if you travel off peak, as it were, there's less crowds. It's cooler than the height of the summer
Yeah.
months. It's sometimes, not as expensive as high season. So we're seeing that. We are also seeing our exotics, Colombia, a great example, Mekong, another, that the Brits love those itineraries, and those
Right.
that are booking, 12 months out. So I think the product that we have, what we offer, whether it is in Europe or outside of Europe, and what we call our exotics, it appeals to the British guest. And
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I can do more to help them understand just how great our experience is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how are you going to do that? Go on, tell me. What's your plan then to help them
Oh,
understand? I
my
mean,
plan,
clearly we're people watching this are travel agents, and that's the first port, is it? They've got to
yes,
understand
yeah,
so they can then explain it to the
yeah,
potential guests. So what are you going to do in that
yeah.
area?
I think if I think about my priorities, I said one of them is growth. The other one is the brand. And the brand is about making sure that there is a growing brand awareness for
Yeah.
AmaWaterways, both within North America, those who know us, love us, and our guests, that's our travel agents, know us and love us and trust us. We have an
Yeah.
incredibly strong relationship with them. We do so much to support travel agents, as I know you know. It's something that Christine has really pioneered. So we
Yeah.
have the tools, we have the webinars, we have the Ama Academy, we have our fam trips, we have our webinar Wednesdays, which I join as much as I can. And I'm very focused on going to all these events, traveling all the time, as you said, meeting and listening to our travel agents and hearing firsthand from them, what works well and what the opportunities are, and making sure that I can help them sell AMA. And I
Yeah.
hear that travel agents like what differentiates. And so when you talk about what do we say, so we absolutely have the most beautiful ships which are comfortable and elegantly designed, and they're growing. We're doing more of them. The standout for me is our crew and the hospitality that we offer. And this is someone who spent years at Disney, where it's gold standard for hospitality. We absolutely stand out. It's the high touch service, it's the care and attentiveness from all of our crew, whether it's on board or on shore, or frankly, in our offices around the world, when I look at our customer service and how they deal with the agents and the guests who call in. So that is what
So
stands
that's
out.
really impressed you, and you're coming from a background where that has been very high in Disney, as you
Yeah,
say. So you're saying that's really impressed you. The only thing I would say to that is that I get to interview lots of river cruise lines, and they will all say, "Well, our crew are standout and amazing, and the service and the family and the warmth and stuff." So, and given what you said about other brands coming into this, the river cruise market, it's not just celebrity. You've got Trafalgar. I mean, you've got lots
yeah,
more coming
coming in.
in.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't disagree with you. I've been on an Am ship and the
No,
service is
but
amazing.
there's
But how
more.
do we convey
Yes,
that? How do you
yes.
get that point of differentiation?
So I would say also, I'd say there are other things that differentiate AMA. So I think up there is the service, and
Yeah,
you're right. How do you communicate that? And luxury is a very overused word I have seen in
yeah,
travel in my short time. So how do we have a brand of luxury that is absolutely associated to AMA, and how do we make sure that that is communicated? As I said, and you're right, everybody says that they have high touch. I would just say that time and time again, we are told, and we win awards, and we have a whole corridor of awards that is all about the service. So there's a validation
yeah.
there. The point is we need to communicate that. And as I look to how we're going to elevate the brand, reinvest in the brand, we communicate in the brand, and I'm actively doing that now, right now, and there will be we will talk about that probably towards the end of the year.
Okay,
Part of that will be the expression of the elegance and the luxury that we want AMA to stand for.
okay.
So
So,
there
so
is a
you mean
whole,
in terms of how you talk about it, but also how you communicate that, like through different mediums. Is that what
Yes,
you're
yes,
talking
yes.
about?
And I'm
Okay.
very focused also on the service on the ships, not just the decor, which is wonderful, but what else, where are there opportunities? What about the products that we offer? We have award-winning cuisine, but what more can we do there?
Yeah.
We have, there's a lot that we do that where we are the first. We were the first with our wellness hosts.
Yes,
We
you
have
are.
our,
Yeah.
incredible hiking bike. It gets copied. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the high form of flattery, but it
Yeah.
does mean that you've got to constantly be on your toes to differentiate. But the excursions that we do, I actually joined Airbnb to run experiences before I
Okay.
took over hosting experiences and focused on hosts. And that intimate experience that feels immersive, authentic, and you're in a small group, how do we complement the more iconic things that you go and visit when you're on a ship
Yeah.
with these off the beaten
Yeah.
track? Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm having this experience. That's something else that I want to
Yeah.
focus
I think that's always the question, isn't it, in river cruise? Because I mean, you all tweak with the design a bit, and I know you've got your double width ship, so that was something
on.
very revolutionary at the time. But on the European rivers, for example, there is only perhaps so much you can do. Celebrity are saying they're coming out with a very different design, so we'll see what happens there. But I guess, where do you see the opportunities for real differentiation, elevation, and getting that unique USP that you can sort of talk to agents and customers about? Because, as I say, the design
Yeah, it's
is kind of set.
Design is one piece, and you are absolutely right. There are limitations in the design because there are needs from a ship that you really can't deviate from. You could do the double width, but that's on the Danube. It's
Yeah,
it
on
wouldn't
river.
work on the Seine. We have our double, the balconies, and it gets copied. That's the other thing, is it gets copied.
Yeah,
So the focus, apart from like constantly looking to see what are the opportunities to raise the bar and to elevate, it's that experience and that connection with the guests and the communities who
yeah,
want to travel on Ama or who want to river cruise, and we want to create the right experience for them. So we have the ships, we have the destinations, we have the themed cruises, which again, we were leading the way there with,
yeah,
with wine, with beer. We've done Soulful, which is pioneering, which celebrates Black heritage and culture. We have a Latin touch for Spanish speaking guests. We have our partnership with Disney. So we know that we have a great a product for families. Backroads, we have a partnership with Backroads, where we have the biking and the hiking. We
yeah,
have a partnership now with the Smithsonian Journey. So if you are somebody who wants to learn more and wants to dig into the culture and have experts on the ship, historians or other areas of expertise, we offer that as well. And so I want to continue to identify what are either the consumer segments, solo travelers, multi-generational family, that we want to make sure that we create the right experience for, or the interest groups
yeah.
where we have a beautiful ship and a beautiful itinerary, but we can super serve you if you want to have a vegan cruise, which we've had recently. So we'll continue to do that as well. And I
So looking
think
at themes, trends to really try and drill into those kind of,
and
which would
just
be really key.
being maniacally focused on the guest and what they want and making sure, I mean, talking to you about my priorities, I've said growth, I've said brand. Third one is data and technology, which
Okay.
obviously I can leverage my experience at Airbnb there. There is a lot that we need to do to build our data, build the tools around our data, help educate our own teams, and also provide the tools for our travel agents to
Yeah.
use
What
so
so
that
what kind
we
of things
have
will you do?
that.
Is that just to have better CRM? That kind of tech? I mean, because
I
you
mean,
must know
CRM
who
is
your
one.
guests are, but are we talking about using AI? What are you talking about in
Yes.
terms of data and tech?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, it definitely using AI. And so it's making sure that one, we capture all the data. We have so much data. We have so much data.
Yeah,
Capturing it, having it in one place is the first thing.
yeah,
Then having the tools to make sure that if you look at us internally, do our sales team, do our reservation agents, do they have access to those tools and that data in the way that they need it? And this is everything from you, Lucy, ring up, and my reservation agent knows exactly who you are, how many times
yeah,
you've sailed on Amma, what you wanted to do last time. Hopefully they know a little bit about your family as well, and so you can
yeah,
create that personal touch. The other is the consumer insights, and so the sales team understanding. If I say, look, I want to ensure that we can build our relationship with British travel agents and British guests, what is the data that we need on those consumer insights and the reporting and the trends that we see? We need to be better at that.
Yeah.
Then there is, on board, when our cruise manager, who is again another unique thing for AmaWaterways, that we have these incredible cruise managers, how much more can we furnish them with the data of the guests who are coming on in real
Right.
time?
Oh, I see. So not just at the point of booking to get them on the right sailing, but
It's
actually when
yeah.
they're there to get the most out of their holiday.
Yes, absolutely. And the type of, excursions that we want to do, the
Yeah.
experiences that we want to immerse them in, data and AI is going to improve all of that. And that is another way in which we will continue to differentiate and elevate the
Goodness.
experience.
So that's quite a lot. You've got a lot. Right, those are your three things. You've probably got more. There's probably even
I
more, but
do have more.
they sound quite a lot to be getting
Yeah.
on with. I'm conscious of time, Catherine. Can we just talk about a little bit more about the UK market, because that's who's watching this today. You mentioned how important it is for you, and obviously you've just promoted Jamie, who everybody knows. He's fantastic. Ambassador for your brand. He's fantastic, but he's now taking on a lot more. So what does that mean for the UK market? Are you still going to have such a focus on the UK because he's got a lot more to look at?
Oh, 100%. The UK is an incredibly important market for AmaWaterways and for me. I'm British. I want to see more British guests, and I love it when I find British guests on a cruise. And I have every cruise I've gone on, there's been British guests there, which is fantastic. And I want them to think of Ama. Jamie has been promoted to international. I told you that international is a focus for us. UK is 100%. Core to international. How do we know and love our North American guests, and they know and love us. As I said to you, river cruising is exploding. I want AmaWaterways to be front of mind for anyone who's thinking about river cruising. Jamie has done an excellent job in the UK, and I want to, leverage that one to continue to invest in the UK and really talk about the international markets, and then leverage that for other markets. So whether it's continuing to build in Australia, Latin Americans want to river cruise. I want it to be us. Asian market, they're
Yeah.
discovering cruising. I want them to think about AMA. So it's
So it's
the
doing what's
international.
worked in the UK and
Yes,
sort of
but
emulating that
continuing,
elsewhere.
but to be
Okay.
clear, continuing. I mean, poor Jamie, every time, obviously I am British, I read the British papers, I read British magazines, as well as, the trade and US. And I'm always forwarding something and said, like, they're mentioning all the other river cruise ships, but not us, whether it's the Telegraph or the Times or,
Oh
Condé
dear.
Nast in the UK.
You on his case?
Yeah, so I can see the opportunity in the UK because we're not front of mind. We do get mentioned and we win awards, and that's, there is the acknowledgement and the recognition, but there's more that we can do.
Yeah. Are you trying to get to a point, where customers know the brand then, and they're walking into a travel agency saying, rather than saying I'd like to go on a river cruise on the Rhine, you want them to come in and saying I want to go on an Ama river cruise.
So I want two things. One is I would love, British guests to walk into a travel agent and say, I want AMA. And I
Mm.
would also love when a British guest walks in and says, I want to do a river cruise, that the travel agent says, you must go on
Yeah.
AMA.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So you mentioned there how Christine was really into, communicating that message to the trade, but presumably that's a big part of what you want to do as well. So I know you've done fam trips and training, and you mentioned all these webinars, but what if I'm an agent watching this? What's in store for the UK travel trade and under your tenure?
So I would say that we have, if you think about the support structure that we have with the people with our team, Christine, Chief Brand Ambassador, continues to be there. We have an incredible sales team. Jamie in the UK, he is there and he is focused. And this is one of my priorities. I have four priorities. International is one of those, and the UK is an incredibly important pillar within international. So I'm going to come to the UK. I'm going to come to events. I want to talk to more press like you. I want people to know me. um, they know Christine as well, though, and Christine is not going anywhere. So there is a continuity, and I want people to understand that the growth that I will be seeking and the way in which we will be evolving is going to be in a thoughtful way that feels that it's consistent with the brand. And the relationship with our travel agents is part of that. They are the backbone to our business. I mean, we wouldn't be where we are
Yeah.
without our relationship with our travel advisor partners.
And presumably it's about getting more out of the agents that you're already working with, but you presumably want to try and tap into new agents as well, I
Yes.
guess. And I know
Yeah,
it's
and we
go
would
on.
love agents that don't sell cruise at all. We would love to understand what river, we're a floating hotel. How can we leverage the hotel?
Yeah.
Agents that sell ocean and don't sell river. We want you to understand what river is. Come onto one of our cruises and experience it, because I've heard many times once you do river after ocean, you don't go back to ocean,
Wow.
because that small ship experience is so special. So yes, so I want to expand our penetration. We have already grown 23% this year in terms of the number of travel agents within the UK that we work.
So this is the number of agents that you're working with. Okay.
It has
And
grown
that's just your sales
23%
team
just
being
this
out and
year.
about. And is that in all channels? Is that mainly retail or is that also home workers? That, like, where have they come from?
All channels. Yeah,
Okay. All right. All right.
all
And
channels.
that's just Andrea and her team being out and about and just getting more and more people switched on to selling.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's then just, I'm sorry, I could keep talking to you, but it's lovely talking to you, but we've got to get through all this. The eight new ships then that you've just announced, I mean, you haven't given too many details. We know they're for the European rivers. Are we likely to see anything very different, or is it just because you're running out of capacity on, because they're obviously the really popular rivers that are, like the Rhine and the Rhone and the Danube, etc. So what's the sort of plan for those? Because they're coming quite thick and fast, aren't they?
They're coming quite thick and fast. So just to set the stage, we will have 33 ships by 2027 before the eight. So we've had the Sintra, the Magdalena, and the Melodia both last year, and
Yeah,
Columbia this year. We will have the Amo Sofia in 2026, who's going to launch on the Rhine and then move to the Danube. And then we have the Ama Magnus brother ship, not sister ship, the brother ship, the Ama Rudi, and the Ama Fiora coming out in 27, and the Ama Maya on the Mekong. So
I'll
that
make
was
yeah,
already in progress. And to the point that you made earlier, do you listen to your guests? As you've just said, the reason that we are launching on top of that eight new ships in Europe is because our guests are telling us they love Europe, they love the European rivers, they love river cruising with AMA. We want to build more ships. We are in the process of deciding exactly the size of the ships, the rivers that we're going to go on. We will announce that probably next year at some point. I have been very focused on ensuring that I have the continued relationships with the shipyards in Europe. And I mean, there is a supply chain, as I'm learning, when you're constructing ships. So it's not just the shipyard, it's the outfitters, it's the HVAC, it's the electrical. There's a lot of demand in Europe for European
yeah,
shipbuilding at the moment, as you see with, the new announcements. So what has been important is ensuring that, our relationships, which are very, very strong, will allow us, and we can contract this access. So that's been the first thing to do, to make sure that we have access, and we do, which is incredibly important.
yeah,
Then it would be the designs of the ship. Do we do more Magnas? Do we do more of our Rhine and Danube ships? Do we do more in France? And the
yeah.
beautiful itineraries that we have there. So that's yet to come.
Yeah, I think you do hear that there's certain parts of certain rivers or certain cities and certain rivers that are very busy, aren't they? And you might get four ships next to each other, or you might have to have some ships docked way out of town because they can't get to the docking place right in the centre of town. So I guess being AmaWaterways, having been around for a long while, you've probably got good relationships in these places. But
Yes.
it's just to answer that question on, is there enough room for all that's coming on board, whether it's from you or other operators?
So we're very focused. I am very focused on, I think about sustainability generally, and sustainability for me falls into two buckets. One is the environmental aspect of it, making sure that
Yeah,
we have fuel efficient engines as we design
yeah,
for that, waste management, solar panels, all of that. The other is over tourism.
right.
A factor of that is this pressure on the docks, but also pressure on the cities that, have not just river cruises, but, they have
Oh
the
yeah,
ocean cruise visiting, and they have cargo ships coming in. So, I mean, river cruising is a small percentage on the busy rivers. So we intentionally think about let's dock at Zaandam, for example, and we build relationships with ports like Zaandam, which is 20 minutes outside Amsterdam, which means that we can stay there. It is a beautiful Dutch town. We're creating a relationship with that community. We've discovered, extraordinary experiences that our guests can share. And it's 20 minutes into Amsterdam, but it eases that congestion
Right.
on the Amsterdam port, which is really important for Amsterdam. And so as I think about those 8 ships in Europe, those itineraries and where we dock is going to be very, very important. And we have, as you said, long-standing relationship. We have incredible relationships with docks throughout Europe. We own certain docks and have privileged access to certain docks without Europe.
Yeah.
You're booking them 2 years in advance, so you're well ahead of this. But it's absolutely a consideration.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's great. It's great when you're launching in a new river because you can own it all and
And
have
build
exactly
them.
what
Yeah.
you want. But some of these very historic,
Yes.
iconic cities that people want on certain, that people want to tick them off. It just, there's more and more coming on stream. You just kind of think, how's that going to be managed? I guess
Yes.
that's the question.
Yes. And you have to manage it very thoughtfully.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
want to be welcomed in the communities that we visit, and we
Yeah.
want to
Very
protect
important.
the rivers that we sail on. That is like a kind of fundamental principle.
So you mentioned you've been on the rivers. Where have you sailed so far, Catherine? Have you how many
So
ships have you managed to get on, and just in Europe
I've
or?
got on, I visited lots of ships because, as you say, you do park, next
Yeah,
to
you
each
can
other.
just
So
pop along.
when I'm on a cruise, I hop onto the others. Then I hop onto, other brands just
Oh
to
yes,
get a
definitely
feel
check
for
out the competition.
check out the competition, get a feel for them. So I've done the Dutch and Belgian waterways. I did Tulip Time as my first one that was so memorable, and just it
Yeah.
was that was full of multi-generational actually as well. There were and just different family groups. There was kind of mothers and daughters and groups of sisters and
Oh, that's going to take quite a lot of education, isn't it? People understanding that river cruise can be really good for families, but
yeah.
that's, I
But
guess,
you
another
create this shared
opportunity.
experience. And we
Yeah,
have so many excursions that you can do when you are on a cruise that families of different ages, they can go off and do their own excursions. They can do activities at different levels. And then they come back and they all dine together. I mean,
yeah,
I've seen it in action. It's a very, very special experience. Anyway, I've done Tulip Time. I've done the Danube, which I absolutely loved.
yeah.
Absolutely loved. The Main Danube Canal and the locks going through that were just for me an absolute highlight. It was wonderful to see. I was taking so many pictures, watching as you as you drop 80 feet and these concrete
Wow.
walls, rise above you. I've been to Africa and seen the
Oh, wow.
Zambezi, which I mean, a river safari is exceptional. I've just come back from the Mekong.
Oh,
So
have you really?
yes, I saw the Amadari.
Oh,
I also went to the shipyard and saw the Amamaya being
the
built,
Maya
which was
being. Oh, how's she coming along? Is she looking good?
oh, it's amazing. I mean, you see it and you think, oh my gosh, how is that going to be all come together?
I
But
know.
it's
Well,
amazing.
it's always remarkable. I always think that. I've done lots of shipyard visits, and then they just seem to get it all,
Oh,
don't they, in the last few
I
weeks. It
know.
all just
No, no,
suddenly looks beautiful.
it's amazing. So
Oh,
that was incredible. And
yes.
then I will do Nile at the end of the year. Actually, I'm taking my family on the Nile. So
Great.
I will have visited through AmaWaterways 16 countries this year.
Wow. This is what all guests should be doing,
Yeah.
Catherine. They should, if you could get a guest that does all of that, that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yes, I mean it's truly special, and I have there's so much more to do. So I mean it's definitely you asking me at the beginning what attracted me. I mean travel and traveling to these countries and doing it through river cruising is just a whole new way to travel that I
Yeah,
had not experienced, and
right.
is just
So
I
you're a
think
convert. Got to
I'm such a
convert your
convert.
family, as you say, later at the end of this year. And then just because we're now starting to talk to people about what we call wave. Do you call it that? I don't know. In America, I don't know if they do, but wave here, it's big for the UK, and peaks if it's not, have you got a big plan for, being on TV or doing, what's your plan? And then sort of with travel agents as well, what's your plan for that big sort of sales push period?
We, I have something very interesting to share with you on that. So we will have a plan for Wave, and we will have a plan on the marketing, and as we always do in the work that we work, how we work closely both with media and with our partners. One of the things I did talking about data and technology was ask the team to identify the revenue booking patterns, because I'd seen Wave, but I saw how the revenue that is booked, the bookings that happen in Wave. I just want to know what does it look like over a year for us? And this could be river cruising, it could be AmaWaterways. we have a pretty balanced year
Right.
of booking for. So if I think about, 2025 wave early first quarter of this year, and just as I was joining actually was incredibly important, and I could see that. And there's
Yeah.
so much activity, especially ocean cruise, but there's a lot of activities, a lot of press, a lot of
Yeah.
events.
Yeah.
But I look, the previous 3 quarters were as important for us as Wave. And so interestingly, what I'm thinking about is how there's so much going on at Wave. Is there a way that Amma can do something, talking to your point about how do we cut through? How do we
Yeah.
differentiate? How do we have a moment where people are listening to us and not just all of the noise
Yeah.
out there?
Because you're
And
right,
I
it's very noisy. It's very noisy. And but
very
you're
noisy.
saying you're not necessarily seeing that as the sole spike in the year. You've got more consistency around the year, so you
It's
don't
an important
necessarily need.
moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
could
I
you
would say
could
it's an
maybe.
important moment, but you could find other moments.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, how exciting! Shake it up, Catherine. We
And
like
Amma
this.
Wave. Yeah,
Shake it up.
have an
All
Amma
right. Well,
Wave.
listen, it
Amazing.
sounds exciting. Let us know what you're going to do, and we'll obviously love to report on anything that you're doing and any new initiatives that you're bringing into the market. And we just wish you all the best. You sound really passionate,
Thank
so
you.
that's the main thing. And we look forward to you coming over to seeing us. Come and see us soon.
Yeah, I will. And thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right. See you soon.